Hi, everybody. It's Grace. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. So here it is in January, at the time that this recording is being made, and it's dreary and dark and rainy and wet and cold where I live. And sometimes that makes people feel very much like hibernating, going inside and kind of getting, closed down a little. Sometimes that seems to go along with an urge to comfort themselves or find something maybe a little more stimulating or exciting or interesting or something that's not now, perhaps, looking forward to something in the future. And I wanted to share with you today some thoughts that may help with eating peace around imagination, really compulsion from anything. And first I'm going to read to you the beautiful poem by Mary Oliver. It's called Wild Geese. So here Mary Oliver says, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high on the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things." So many beautiful and important, poignant points in that poetry. The one I want to speak to today is, first of all, you have a place in the family of things because you're here. You exist. But this idea about imagination, if you're here, you're probably familiar with self-inquiry and the work of Byron Katie. My favorite, the cornerstone, really, for freedom from our stories, for freedom from that mind that's thinking compulsively. Really, compulsive thinking, compulsive believing stressful thoughts leads to compulsive eating or any other kind of compulsive process behavior. And the thing is, sometimes people will say in the course of doing the work, questioning, is it true what I'm thinking? How do I react? And what happens? Eat. Nervousness, anxiety, fear. Who would I be without that thought? And then imagining, and they will say, but that's just imagination, it's just a made up story. The thing I love to remember is that your stressful beliefs are also made up stories. The stories in your mind that you think are so true about food and eating, every single thing that you've ever thought might not be the whole picture, probably isn't. Everything you've ever thought about, every bite you take, and when you take a bite and you say something like, "This is going to make me fat. Oh, I'm such a mess for eating it. I can't believe I'm doing this again. Why do I want to eat?" Especially, why do I want to stay in my blankets in these cold, dark, rainy nights in winter and eat too much food? And then just sort of this endless flow of despair about the food. Well, a couple things to do. One is, imagining, using your imagination to open up and using inquiry, the simple steps of inquiry, to really open up to who you would be without this story, the thought you're saying to yourself. There's nothing wrong with feeling despair. It's very human. And to wind up focusing the despair on food or a substance or a need to get away from, avoid, get out of the situation, that's going to be one of the most difficult and painful things in the world, to wish you were someplace where you are not. Who would you be without that story? What if it was okay, for you to be right here where it is, dreary, rainy, difficult in your environment, maybe a little dreary in your emotions, and your thoughts? What if you put pen to paper and actually wrote down what your despair looks like, or painted the picture of it, or wrote some of your thoughts besides the ones about food and eating that seem to take up, 95% of the material about food and eating is on food. What if we just set those aside and wonder if you could know what else is going on here when you feel compelled to overeat or starve or do anything compulsive like that that's self-defeating in some sense? What else could be going on that might be fueling that drive that sort of feels compulsive and addictive? There's something very interesting there. Maybe it's longing to be told. Maybe this despair that Mary Oliver speaks of. I'll tell you my despair. Tell me about yours. Maybe it's something other than food and eating and how to solve that problem. It might just naturally be that food and eating would fall away if you got more to the root or the core of whatever it is that's happening. And you used your imagination too to wonder who you would be without your stories, and just one thought at a time. I mean, it's hard to imagine who you'd be without your entire system of beliefs about food and eating and weight and body image and what it all means. It's too much to do at once. So just take one thought at a time, like as you're eating, this food will make me fat. Is that actually true? Is it true that it's making me fat? Who would I be without that story? What if I just sat and wondered and slowed things down a little? You might not even be stuffing it in so quickly. My thinking, maybe, is making me fat. It's usually the case, right? It goes back to my thinking. So what is this? What is fatness? It's got a heavy and thick and extra and really describing fatness, kind of bulky or over, some overcompensated for or something. You just see what it is, what it really means, this fatness, and see if that's in your mind, in your thoughts about something. Maybe there's unfinished business from the past, or a difficult situation you feel nervous about, or something you feel unfulfilled about in your life right now. All right. It's just a brief overview, but an invitation, such a wonderful, brilliant, beautiful invitation to see what is inside of you, what is in your mind and your heart. What do you think's missing? What's you and the world, the relationship between you and it, you and food, you and this body, and just writing down what you think. Anything that you write down that's stressful can be taken through the 4 questions. Is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? How do I react and what happens as I watch and observe myself thinking that thought? Who would I be without the thought? The great imagination question. Who would I be without the thought? If I was an alien from another planet and I didn't even have this thought, if I couldn't think it, who would I be? What would that be like? And then you get to turn the thoughts around to the opposite, or to my thinking is, instead of whatever it is you're looking at. If you have any questions and you wonder, don't forget there's lots of resources for how to do the work, and Loving What Is the best guide you can possibly get. And just ask me any questions at the bottom in the comments. Okay, who would you be without your story? Amazing imagination. Take care, everybody.